I'd like to say good morning to everybody and welcome. I'm Jeff Cook. I'm the chairman of the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission. I'd like to welcome everyone to our second day of our commission meeting in August and get things started right. I'd like to call on Commissioner Sanders to lead us in the invocation and the pledge.
Give us direction as we try to do the business of the state. Protect our hunters, which are out actually enjoying this morning the chances we've given them to hunt. Give us all wisdom in the decisions that we have to make. In this name I pray. Amen. Please turn to the flag. Bring the proper salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Sanders. And Danette, would you please call the roll?
Chad Baker, Angie Box, Bill Cox, here. Dennis Gardner, Connie King, here. Tony Sanders,
here.
James Stroud, here. Bill Swan, Kent Woods,
here.
Jamie Woodson, Brian McLaren, here. Kurt Holbert, here. Jeff Cook.
Here.
Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Danette. And we received the minutes and have reviewed those. Can I have a motion for approval? Motion for approval, second by Commissioner Sanders. All in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, those are passed. Thank you. So a few announcements. Today is our commission day, so the entire commission will be discussing and voting on these issues. And any folks from the public, we'd love to hear your comments. So if you have anything you'd like to say, please step to the microphone, state your name, say if you're representing any organization, and any questions, just direct them to either to me or the chairman of whatever committee is in session at that time. And please remember to silence your cell phones. And we have a few guests with us today. We're fortunate to have the opportunity to honor Mr. Wade Bourne and some of the family. Miss Becky Bourne, Hampton Bourne, and David Smith are here for that. And we appreciate you folks being here. The Dyes are here, welcome. And Ed Williams is here with us again. Boyd Barker, welcome back. Ron Crabtree with Quail Forever. I got it right this time, Rob. Quail Forever. And Boyd's with the Department of Ag. So, Dr. Jack Gaden is here. Welcome, Dr. Gaden. He's representing the Shikar Safari organization, and Mike Butler from Tennessee Wildlife Federation. I think that's everyone. And I'd like to recognize Commissioner Box. I think we have a special day today.
We do. It's Connie's birthday. We got her a gift. She's been eating this for a long time. So you got to put it on too.
It's your birthday, Connie. You got to do it.
Birthday.
Ooh, that's perfect.
The cat says Mr. Crappie, so I had to add an S last night with a Sharpie, so it's Mrs. Crappie.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Happy birthday, Connie.
So that fits perfectly. All right. Any announcements from the commission? Director Carter, any announcements? Right. Well, with that, I'd like to recognize Colonel Darren Ryder for presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner Cook. Happy 25th, Commissioner. If I could at this time, Commissioner Cook, is get Dr. Jack up here to make a few comments, then I'll follow up with some more comments. If
Go ahead.
No, sir, you go ahead.
No, I'm going to ask you.
You sure? Okay, great. So what I'd like to do today is present the Shikar Safari Award for Officer of the Year, Wildlife Officer of the Year. The agency would like to recognize Officer Eric Anderson. is the Tennessee recipient of the Shikar Safari Wildlife Officer of the Year. Eric's assigned to Sumner County in District 21 in Region 2. Eric's teamwork and public outreach, he held a fishing event for the wounded soldiers on Percy Priest Lake in conjunction with the Percy Priest Hybrid and Stripe Club that included the soldiers along with their children. So after finishing this event, he responded to a call and found a drunk boater passed out in the boat. So he proceeded to arrest the boater for BUI and booked her in the Metro Nashville jail. That same evening, Eric met his captain for a TV show in Nashville to answer phone calls from the public. Just another day of work for Eric Anderson. Eric also assisted with a youth dove hunt in his county. He helped with a youth deer rally that raised money for the Tennessee Wildlife Officers Association Scholarship Fund to honor a young sportsman that had passed away. Eric also assisted other officers in youth turkey hunts in Cheatham and Montgomery counties, a career day at Portland High School. He spoke at the Gallatin Rotary Club, talked to the students at the Wilson County Farm Days. He represented the agency at Corps of Engineers Environmental Days. He conducted 14 local radio programs, and he also worked the Dixon County Fair. In excellence and innovation, Eric was able to work with our special investigation units on a taxidermy case that discovered a large 18-point deer that had been poached out of Fort Campbell, and through innovation and technology, he applied this new technology, followed all his leads, and he eventually prosecuted 2 individuals out of Sumner County for the illegal deer. He also prosecuted 7 other individuals using social media outlets to discover the poaching violations. One local deer this past year was known as Barefoot Charlie's Buck. Eric found a bait site in the area and eventually caught the poacher that had shot and wounded the buck with bow prior to opening day. The buck lived, but the poacher lost his bow and his privileges. Eric's attitude and leadership. Eric spoke to 200 officers at the Hendersonville Police Department for their in-service. He's a member of the agency's turkey team. He serves on the exhibit committee of the Southeastern Deer Study Group. Eric also held a live interview with Nashville's Talk of the Town on boating safety for the 4th of July holiday. Eric's accomplishments and achievements. His hard work resulted in issuing 156 citations, 25 written warnings, 2 wildlife-related arrests, and 2 BUI arrests. He also assisted with 85 additional citations for a total of 270 law enforcement actions. This year, he checked over 1,437 individuals for compliances. He made over 4,400 positive public contacts with school groups, sportsman groups, civic groups, fairs, and personal contacts. He graduated 4,300 education students this past year. He also received the yearly SIU award for that case on Fort Campbell in Sumner County. Officer Anderson also received the Donaldson Chamber of Commerce Appreciation Award for his work in law enforcement and community involvement. I'd like to recognize his supervision, Captain Dale Grandstaff and Lieutenant Jim Hooper, and also Major Bailey is not here. So with that, Officer Eric Anderson is an asset to the agency, his community, and the state of Tennessee. Congratulations, Eric. I need to go in front of the podium. Yes, sir. Are you able to get in front of the podium? Okay. But if we could, we need to get a picture. Okay. He's going to make a picture.
Absolutely.
Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
You sure?
Please do.
Hey, y'all, I'm having to stand by this dude from Memphis. Anyway, I'm Dr. Jack Gayton from Nashville, raised here. And I practiced in Memphis for 40 years delivering babies, 8,000 of them. Had to retire with my lung transplant. So y'all bear with me on my breathing. I got one lung and it's going down the tube. So I want to say something to y'all. It's important. The Shikar Club is an international club. It actually started Safari Club International. It's composed of 250 conservationists and hunters throughout the world, all over, Russia, and Iran, and we got them all. But we collect money through our foundation, and that money is given for programs. 100%. Everything's volunteer. We're the purest conservation group you'll ever find. And it was like Ducks Unlimited said we were #1. That's good, okay, whatever. But so they recognize Tennessee for lots of reasons. And I'll tell you why, because it goes full circle. Back when we were not even around, some of us, 1976, excuse me, yeah, 1946. After the war, the conservation assets of this state were being ruined. We were circled by 8 states, and it was just devastation going on. So these people who met, these sports writers and doctors and lawyers and farmers, and met in Chattanooga at the Reed House and developed the Tennessee Conservation League, and that's what we are today. Tennessee Conservation League is Tennessee Wildlife Federation. And they developed this, and as they did, they were able to work very hard to get this organization going. It was apolitical, standalone, and that was really important. And that's why we're recognized, because we work with the people of Tennessee, and they help us do what we got to do. So it's a very unusual setup that developed over those years. To go full circle, there was a guy named Jacob McGavock Dickinson, my great-great-grandfather, who was the first president of the Isaac Walton League, because he and Roosevelt were good buddies. And he brought that idea to Tennessee. And so we had little clubs that eventually turned into the Tennessee Conservation. So it's amazing. I didn't know that until I read the book. He was my great-great-grandfather, part of that. And he was Secretary of War under Taft. So as we go along and develop this organization, it became important that we had someone who could fight the battles for this organization. And that's us, the Tennessee Wildlife Federation. So we're like a barbell. I'm on one end with them, and on this end with y'all, with TWRA, and in the middle, we got the population. It's strong. We got to use it, because we're being forced into doing some things we don't want to do. Our organization at Shikar just donated $3 million to the National Rifle Association, because we're being attacked pretty hard on everything we believe in on conservation. Look at Africa, it's coming this way. So we got to be careful with that. So I'm coming full circle, because if you look at what happened a few years ago, that this commission was going to be disbanded, and I was called, Mike got me going, and we were able to work it out and get it back to where it's supposed to be. Thank God for Governor Haslam. But the first governor who did it was a guy named Governor Browning, who put this together with the Tennessee Conservation League. By the way, my uncle married Browning's daughter, so there's another circle. He just keeps going. I'm the only one out of 30 kids, grandkids, that does this, which I don't understand, but anyway. So it's important that all of us, get out, talk, give you a card, explain what we do. He'll tell you, if he already doesn't tell you already, wherever I go, I got cards, I got emblems on my trucks, I got everything. I look like a walking conservationist, because people aren't paying attention. This bunch they call the Z group, the kids and the snowflakes, they don't know who we are. They don't care. Because we used to have a curriculum in this school system in Tennessee that taught the outdoors. But unfortunately, it was taken out of the budget and went by one of our governors, a Republican governor. And when he did that, the kids don't know anything about outdoors. One of our missions is we got to get that back. We got to have education, and we just don't have it. And so we got to get really serious and understand that we are on the minority downslide. And this country was started with the majority of us. If it hadn't been for you guys supporting us in our organization, especially with the trap teams and whatnot, and our kids going outdoors and hunting, we wouldn't have survived and done well. So when Shikar looked at this, they looked at what we do. We do outcome studies, we keep data, we help each other. We're doing the things that they want to do throughout the United States. And so we made a commitment to go to every one of these National Wildlife Federation affiliates, which we are a member of, to make them get involved. Guess what? They come to us now because we won the award this year to being the best of the best. And we've won it 2 times before, but we're probably going to win it every year now because you guys got to know our trap team has been #1 for 15 years in the United States of America. Nobody can beat Tennessee. We're #1. We're #1. We're #1 in the National Wildlife Federation. And on our Hunters for the Hungry, this young man who won the award, he was one of our interns at Tennessee Wildlife Federation. What year was that?
2001.
Yeah. So he was serious and he blossomed from it. Darren, he can tell you his story if he wants to, but his family's developed a child that's coming through because we helped him through school. Not only does his children get scholarship money if they study this profession, but also he has a life insurance policy that if he gets hurt or dies on while he's working, it pays the family off. So it's come full circle that we got an international big game hunting bunch. You got a little Tennessee Wildlife Federation that's blossomed into something great, and the TWRA, which is fantastic. So I want to appreciate y'all and tell you how much we all appreciate what you've done for this state, and we got to teach it that way. I don't want any more negative thoughts about who we are. We're the best thing since sliced bread. And hold your head up and be proud of it. You got it? All right. Now, Mr. Carter, I appreciate you because not only you're a good friend, but you've been a great leader. And I appreciate everything you've done and all those other scallywags up there with you. So know that I bleed this organization and ours, and we need to stay close, work together. We're not separate. People can't sometimes think that I'm TWRA when I tell them TWF, so you have to explain it. We are different, but we're the same. Anyway, any questions? Well, we love y'all, and thank you for letting me come here. It's a privilege. And remember, life is a gift, and what you do is what you give back. Don't ask anything in return. I got this one lung from a young child who was brain dead, but he was bigger than me, so they had to cut the lung down to get it in my little body. That was 6 years ago. I didn't have any oxygen. I did great. But they tell you only have 4 or 5 years. This is my 6th year. Happy birthday, by the way. I have 2 of them. March 16th, 44, and April 24th, 2012.
I have a lot of them too.
And to give a little punch, I was named John Overton Gaten because the Overtons, that's my family. Anyway, and I said, why'd you make me John? She said, you were born on the 16th. Read it in the Bible. John 3:16. That's why she named her kids. We love y'all. Thank you. I hope I didn't embarrass you. But
Thank you, Dr. Jack. Thank you for making the trip. Thank you for the partnership for Shikar Safari, and thank you for recognizing our wildlife officer and their accomplishments. And as a side note, like you mentioned, we got to keep that quiet. My wife don't know about that insurance policy. So let's keep that quiet. She's liable to shoot me so she can get the money. Put a turkey feather in my pocket. But thank you again for coming.
Well, I appreciate it. And I'm glad to be here. I didn't think I was going to be able to make it. God willing, I did it. We made it. One side, big picture.
And Dr. Gaden, you know, in medicine, we always say we're where we are because we're standing on the shoulders of giants, and it's the same thing here. We're here today because we're standing on the shoulders of giants like you who have gone before us and prepared this for us. So your legacy will continue on for a long time, so we thank you very much.
All of you. Before I go, there's your history, guys. This book, written by Marge Davis, Sportsman's United, Historian of Tennessee Conservation League, but this is about you guys. We need to get this book handed out. When they read this, they're going to fall in love with the Bible. That's what sportsman. Because she's writing a second one to do going on here. See those people in there? She got all those pictures of the old guard. I know several of them. Yep. Thank y'all.
All right, I'd like to recognize Vice Chair Kent, Vice Commissioner, let's see, what would you be? Commissioner Woods, Vice Chair, Fisheries Division. Yeah, Kent, would you introduce somebody? Angie, could you do this better for me? Thank you.
I'd like to recognize that man right back there. The fish pond project on Reservoir.
Yes, at the last, good morning, Commissioners. At the last commission meeting, we had a presentation about aquatic habitat and reservoirs and what we do as an agency. And oftentimes, and hopefully a lot more often, we work with partners to get that job done. The gentleman that's here to speak today is going to talk about a project that he's doing with his organization on Timms Ford Reservoir. So I'd like to introduce Captain Jake Davis of the Bass Nation High School Division for Tennessee.
This isn't fair. I got to follow the doctor.
That is tough. Tried to break the ice a little.
It isn't right. Commissioner Cook, I'm going to blame you for that one because you didn't tell me I had to follow the doctor. You know.
Hey, I know we're all showed up now. So.
That's rough. It won't be as good as his, folks. Before I get started, I want to say thanks to the commission, thanks to TWRA. And Director Carter for having me up here today. And I want to recognize a couple of gentlemen sitting right over here, Todd St. John's and Jess Taylor from down in my neck of the woods. Todd works here in Nashville, and Jess is down on Normandy and Woods Reservoir. They have taught our kids down there in me as we went through this, and it'll come back around and you'll see how long we've been working together. They have been just a plethora of knowledge and skill on trying to combat a problem that we have going on that was addressed at the last commission meeting with the habitat. And, you know, we talk about, you know, you all seen the problem last week or last month. We've got the solution, I hope, at least part of it, and we're going to move forward with it with the commission's blessing and Director Carter and Chief Fiss. with their blessings, we're going to move forward with this and keep it going for many years to come. A little bit who I am. I am the Tennessee Bass Nation High School Assistant State Director. I'm also a Regional Director in Central Tennessee. We have partnered up with the TWRA guys, my fisheries biologist down in Region 2 here in the southern part of it. We also have teamed up with a organization that supports lake cleanup and habitat and overall welfare of Timms Ford Council. It's a private organization down there on the lake that just seems to help us out a lot, and they've been able to help us a whole bunch. Oh, it worked. In 2014, the state director, Dave Lowry, and I and about 5 other individuals started out on a mission to bring Tennessee Bass Nation and get fishing going and bass fishing, competitive fishing in the high schools in the state of Tennessee. Dave started out with 12 schools. As of today, and these numbers are wrong because I've been adding schools on him, we're at 139 programs on the high school side and probably another 67 on the junior high school side. And we're just over 1,200 youth on the waters at different times. There was a couple of days last year where we had tournaments and events in all the regions, and we literally had over 300 boats on the water in different places. So from Middle Tennessee, all the way from Kentucky Lake to Johnson City. Needless to say, we're growing. Some of the things we have done already, we're just going to go through this. I know Chief Fiss wants me to keep this down. Some of the stuff we've done in the past, habitat, hey, great guy. Some of the stuff we've done in the past is habitat and development around the lake shore. The Timms Ford Council donated the funds for us to build a 140-foot courtesy dock at the Winchester City Park. The kids have been out and they have filled in 2016 3 semi-truck sized dumpsters. Filled them from garbage from the lakes, mainly on Timms Ford. And every tournament they all get trash up. They have to bring trash in from the lake or whatever they can find. We give them bags and they bring it in every tournament. The youngsters work themselves to death for us. Habitat development and revitalization the last 4 or 5 years, as I alluded to earlier. Jess and Todd has worked with us tremendously. We've built over 1,250 habitat structures and placed them around. This here is just a picture of some of the stuff. We tend to split it up between man-made or permanent structure like the 4-inch PVC and the traditional Christmas trees and bamboo stuff because we want to, it's lacking so much, we want to add that shock in there, and that's just what's available to us. Okay. Some more stuff we did there. That center, the upper center picture is actually one that Todd come down from Nashville. He wanted to see what was going on when to first meet us all. We had about 40 people there associated with this at different phases. I think that day, Todd, we put out what, about 180 or so structures in 4 hours. So we learned real fast that if we can get the kids and the manpower together to build the structures, in a 4-hour time, we can shock a lake, or, you know, not shock it literally, but we can add that structure to there in about 1/10 of the time it takes the lake managers to do. And we can free the lake managers up to do what they should be doing in monitoring and checking and working on other lakes. Timms Ford started out with 18 original habitat sites. We've added 20 new ones in the last 3 years and about 1,100 pieces of structure. And we count structure by a whole bundle of what we pick up, whether it's one Christmas tree or a bamboo set or whatever the projects the kids come up with. Because we do task them to come up with different types of structure. And what that's done is, if you look on the slide here, the little fish pictures is what the TWRA originally had on there. All those little red X's is where that 1,100 has been. It sounds like a lot. Commissioners, we didn't even touch maybe 5% of that lake. And that's how, you know, that's where we're at. It spilled over into Woods Reservoir this spring. Woods had 10 original sites. We've added 5 and 65 bamboo structures and one 1x4 stump structures over there. And I can tell you they are just full of fish. Whether, you know, we're not creating fish here, we're giving them something to hide around and benefit the health of them and making them more accessible for the anglers. But these structures are really helping on a, you know, basically what was a barren wasteland. The jewel, and part of the real reason that Commissioner Cook and Chief Fiss and the guys asked me to come up was to talk about the AFCO Bass Nation Conservation Grant. This grant mandates that we come up with a plan in order to receive it of what we're going to do, what lake specifically, and how we're going to affect that local community or that reservoir. And we have to do it in cooperation with the TWRA or with the wildlife managers. This got Todd and I, or Todd, Jess, myself, Commissioner Cook, thinking, if we can do this, we might be able to set something up in the future. Well, I drew up the request for the grant, we sent it in, and last month we had $5,000 to help with the habitat. It's not a lot, but I have a very, shall we say, ingenuitive crew. They're scavengers. And we can stretch that $5,000 a long way. So I don't want, when we talk about numbers here in the coming slides, I'm going to caution you, commissioners, what we're doing for $1 realistically should cost somewhere around 5 or 6. That's how much stuff we're getting donated from the different, you know, programs in the schools or the kids out there, or what myself or some of the other leadership can scrounge up. So we're stretching that $5,000. It should be, total value of this whole project is going to be somewhere around $30,000 or $40,000 by the time we're done. Project duration is going to last 1 September. We've actually already started because they sent a check to me, and we're going to finish it up right around the 15th of February. Next spring, I'll have results for the commission, and we'll get those up to Chief Fisk and the leadership so y'all can see what we did. The project's we're going to take the lake managers back to a supervisory position. I'm bringing the workforce in with the kids. We've got the existing locations, the TWRA locations, we're going to replenish with 30 to 40 new habitat structures each. We're going to grab the kids and we're going to say, where do you want some of this stuff on your own? Make sure it's okay with the lake managers, Jess and Todd, and the TVA. We're going to do this all out of a subdivision there on the lake called Dripping Springs. Included in this, one of the work days is going to be a lake cleanup day. Franklin County Waste Management's already committed to giving us all the dumpsters we need. This is just a rundown of the material. Smyrna Ready Mix Concrete here in Nashville has been terrific to us. They're terrific to my organization. They, you know, give us sponsorship funds for scholarships for the kids. They're going to help us supply and help us with the concrete cost. We've got 1,600 5-gallon buckets from Nissan and other places that have been donated to put bamboo in. Running down the list, one of the things of interest that Todd and Jess and I were talking about last week with Lyle, who's doing a lot of work up here on Old Hickory, is using specifically green fresh cut bamboo. We have done a lot of research and found out that if we use it green cut and place it in the lake, it'll last 15 to 20 years. Versus if you put it in there when it's dry, brown, it'll last about 4. We don't know, it's just some kind of water-based. We haven't researched into why it does it, but it lasts that long, and that's information we're getting out of Arkansas and Missouri. So we're looking at 1,500 bamboo structures. 200 plus artificial. I can tell you we're way over this already with the material we have on hand. Some more spawning benches for around the lake, and we're at about 3,000 stakes actually donated from Tim's Ford Power Sports. So you can see where we can stretch that 5,000 out a long ways because we don't pay for stakes. Typically that costs, you know, they're $1 or $2 a piece. So we could eat up, you know, $2,000 there real fast. It's costing us nothing. Anticipated results. Here's where we're going with this. We're going to monitor this program real close with the leadership from the TWRA, and hopefully we're going to jumpstart a lot of lake rehabilitation in Timms Ford, Woods Reservoir, Normandy, wherever we can get to. That is, I hate to be sound self-centered, but convenient for me because of my schedule for right now, and we can, for monitoring the program type of thing. We're going to jumpstart this program, get it going down there and monitor it. I have a list of coaches from Memphis to Johnson City and from Kentucky state line to the Alabama state line, and it's growing daily. Commissioner Cox, we are going to address some of the family fishing lakes, and we're going to get a crew out there. I believe the 901 Bass Club out of Memphis is going to dedicate themselves to going out there to Herb Parsons and helping out with that as soon as I can get them going there. I know that was some of the things. We don't want to just concentrate on reservoirs. All of our lakes need this. So we've got crews for, you know, kids and teams to go out on Old Hickory or wherever we need it to go to. But once we can prove this and it works and we got a program that everybody can work together with and use it as a baseline, we're going to submit for some more grants in the very near future through the Tennessee Bass Nation in conjunction with TWRA guidance. Hopefully we can bring some more money into the picture from outside agencies. Director Carter, I'm sorry to say this, we're going to ask for some help from the agency, hopefully. Then we're looking at, you know, maybe a grant program similar to we have. I know the Timms Ford Council, sir, just got a grant for lake cleanup. We're getting that paperwork sent up now, and I want to thank you for that. But if we can set up something, some kind of grant program that works like that with the TWRA for habitat, you know, find some funds someplace to set aside, it would be great. And, you know, focus on highland reservoirs, agency lakes, the river lakes like Old Hickory and Cumberland River. Cordell Hall, I know, needs a lot of help. I got a phone call up there from one of the coaches, and I'm like, we've got to do what we can do for right now. So they'll be getting a hold of you shortly if they haven't already. But that's where we're going. Again, commissioners, if you have any questions, anybody has any questions, I'd happily answer them if we can. And hopefully this works out to the benefit of Tennessee and all of our lakes and rivers.
So, well, Captain Jake, I really, really appreciate this presentation. And, you know, there's no question the lakes, the reservoirs need this. And I'm really excited about everything about it because you have the kids involved, you have the businesses involved, the communities involved, the adults, you know, fishing clubs. And, you know, when people have a vested interest in something, they're just going to take even more care of it. So we need this. You got a great program going. And it's just funny how this, I'll make this real quick, but it's funny how this worked out. I'd been talking to Glenn Bryan, who was a creel clerk in Region 2, and I'd see him out on the lake, and we got to talking about habitat. And so then, you know, he and I talked for a while, and I thought, well, maybe we can do something about this. And so I'd gone fishing. I'll go with a fishing guide every now and then just to try to find some new honey holes. And I had fished with this guy, didn't catch anything. But I left my phone in his boat accidentally. So I saw Jake, I didn't know him, but I saw him there standing with a stringer of fish with his clients. And I walked up and I said, well, you know this guy? And he said, yeah. I said, can you call him? I got to get my phone. So he called him, he brought my phone back. But anyway, I got Jake's card. So I went fishing with him a few months later. We're just sitting out there fishing and catching fish. And I said, what do you think about trying to improve the habitat on the lakes. And man, he just lit up. I mean, we talked for the rest of the time, and I said, "Can you give me some research?" He sent me it looked like something from medical school. He sent me a packet of research on. Yeah,
my book of knowledge over here, Commissioner.
Yeah, exactly. He knows what he's talking about, and he can pull it off. And so I really appreciate you taking this on, and I appreciate what you've done, all that you've done with the high school kids and the lake habitat. And, now we can hopefully do our part and support you and your kids and the community in this.
Well, too often, Commissioner, we come, outside agencies come in front of the TWRA or in front of the commission, and we got this catastrophe problem. And like I told you when we started this, I'm not going to come up here and complain about a problem without a solution. And I'm hoping that with everybody's blessing, we're going to move forward, and we'll get a report back to the Director Carter and to Fisheries and Chief Fisk, and everybody will be happy, and they'll be like, let's just keep this going. So I appreciate the opportunity, y'all.
I got some. Jake, I just wanted to thank you mainly for what you're doing, and also thank you for what you're doing with the students. And it's just a great opportunity for students to participate and get involved in fishing, and it helps the future of our agency out, getting these kids to participate. So I just want to thank you for what you're doing. You're doing a great job, and really appreciate the time you're taking to do it.
I appreciate it. And if anybody wants to come see a bunch of excited kids, tournaments are starting September 15th on Kentucky Lake and September 20th on Nickajack. So hopefully I can get Commissioner Sanders to come out and see us at Shellmount.
I'll be glad to.
There we go. Got him on tape now.
Well, Captain Jake, thank you very much.
Thank you,
We'll be in touch. Thank you. Now let's go fishing. So thank you, Vice Chairman Woods. Yeah. Now I'd like to recognize Chairman Holbert for the wildlife.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm gonna switch out of order. Kirk's sitting on the edge of his seat right now, but I'm gonna put somebody in front of you real quick, Kirk. Anyway, I'm gonna call on Susie Spriggs to come up and just give us a really short update. We've got a brand new deer season this year that just started today. I've been getting some pictures this morning. It's making me regret being right here. But anyway, just going to ask her, can you give us an update maybe on license sales, and also how many deer have been checked in this morning?
Deer check-in, I'm going to defer to Dale Grandstaff on that. As far as fishing licenses, just to give you a little bit of perspective, I'm going to start with this same 4 days last license year. So August 20th through August 24th of last license year. Our non-resident 7 days, for those same days, we had only sold 2. For the non-resident annual hunting all game, we had only sold 42. The non-resident archery, we had only sold 63. This year, the 7 days so far this morning is up to 21. The non-resident annual is up to 204, which Commissioner Box did not know about. And resident archery, I've been checking it kind of minute by minute, and it is slowly increasing. It is up to 1,236. And the non-resident youth all game is 3. So
awesome.
That's where we're at this morning, so there's a lot of interest. So thank you guys for
Awesome. Thank you, Susan. Congratulations, Commissioner Box. Dale, if you give us an update on how many deer have been checked in up until this minute.
I just looked as of about 10 minutes ago. It was around 42 bucks taken so far. 7 10 points, 5 11 points, 2 12 points, and 1 17 points. So
wow.
Far.
Wow. That's unreal. Thank you, Dale. Yeah, you can speak. We'll let you. You spoke yesterday. Remember?
Yeah, that was great. That was great. I just want to thank you all, and I'm very excited about this hunt. We are actually sitting here on opening day, but that's okay. And I hope next year maybe we can add the WMAs and have more public access for this, and maybe a longer time. We've got 3 days this year for the velvet hunt, so I'd like to maybe next year see days added to the end to give them more time. But excited about the opportunity for the hunters out here for the velvet and hope it goes well. So thank y'all so much.
And I agree, Commissioner Box, Cox, whichever. I agree with you that I think it'd be great to open up WMAs, and I'd like to commend you for, you're the one that promoted this and got this through, and way to go. It's been a huge benefit, obviously, and folks are loving it, so thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I think the results of this effort in expanding opportunity is a good example of what can happen when we do things like this with all the new money. Thanks.
All right. Mr. Kirk Miles, before you talk, Kirk, I've got somebody wants to make a comment. Go ahead and get up there, though. They want you up there. So Commissioner Sanders has got some words of wisdom or something he'd like to say.
Yeah, I have an idea what Mr. Miles is going to tell you, but not everyone that went to the crane drawing was selected, including the District 4 Commissioner, which happens to represent the crane zone and in that district where the drawing was. I will point out that Commissioner Swan, who did not grace us with his presence, and 2 of his relatives were in the drawing, so statistically, they should have been removed from the drawing before one Commissioner Sanders was. That did not happen. And I guess the last thing I want to say is that part I said at the end about reopening your budget and reviewing it, that was just my way of saying thank you for doing such a good job in the drawing. So
Thank you. I wish I could say it took a lot of training and mental fortitude to pull your name out of there, but it was just the luck of the draw.
I just hadn't figured out how many.
I'm praying that you're successful in the computer drawing.
I just hadn't figured out how did me and Commissioner Cook get drawn and we weren't even there? That's what I haven't figured out. So. Anyway, I'm going to say on record that I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Kirk.
Well, thanks for having me this morning. This should be really quick and easy. I'm going to just give a brief update on our statewide waterfowl blind drawings and the sandhill crane drawing. It really should be quick and easy. It's all good news, and if you remember the season setting, I don't have to mention UT Refuge today. It was a joke. Starting with Region 1, none of these individual WMA participations were records this year, but again, overall, you see they had basically an increase of about 400 people participating in the blind drawing, and they issued blinds to 265 individuals at that drawing. So still good interest, still growing interest in the waterfowl hunts in Region 1. Region 2 really had a banner year. Cheatham Lake, Old Hickory, this is a combination of both units on Old Hickory, and AEDC. The participation in all 3 of those drawings was a record this year, which I'm sure probably makes the total 3,733 participants is probably an all-time record, given that there were three of the units or the WMAs that were records. So, seems to be growing in Region 2, interest in the waterfowl blind drawings. And then finally, just to go over the sandhill crane drawing, of course, last year was the first year we had statewide permits, and well, let's start with the hand drawing. It's obviously still growing in the southeastern crane zone, which is where we conduct the hand drawing. This year we had 661 applicants. We increased our permits from 400 the year before to 479, 3 tags with each permit. We changed venues this year, which really was a good thing. We beefed up our staffing at the drawing, and it went really smoothly, except maybe from Commissioner Sanders' standpoint, evidently. Last year, on the computer drawing, there were 1,332 applicants. We issued 1,127 tags. That was one tag each. This year, each permit will carry 2 tags, and we'll issue 637 of those. Application period September 5th through the 26th. And that's all I have, unless there are questions.
Any questions?
No, I will say, and I worked with Kirk and Jamie a lot to move this, and it was by far the smoothest. This is what, the 5th year?
6 years.
6th year?
Yes, sir.
And I've been drawn for the other 5, but that's a whole nother issue. But this was such a smooth transition to Dayton High School, and
Yes.
it was crazy, because before we literally would have hour and a half lines to get signed up, and this year the line was never more than 4 or 5 minutes. It was amazing. So hats off to you guys, other than the one pulling the one name out that you could have called any name in the book besides that name. But no, great job, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kirk. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Holbert. I'd like to go off the schedule just a bit. The Bourne family has endured as much of this as you need to, so I sure don't want you to have to listen to the budget. So I'd like to call on Chairman Stroud for the introductions.
The chair recognizes Mr. Ed Carter.
Thank you, Chairman Stroud. Thank you all for, for responding as you did to Dr. Jack Gaden a few minutes ago. He's been a great participant in everything we've done for so many years. We used to laugh if he told you he's delivered 8,000 babies, and we were talking about population expansion, what it does to wildlife resources, and he said, well, you're kind of a problem. Anyway, we decided, he said, I think a woman has a baby every 1.4 minutes, and we decided to find that woman and stop her. Anyway, I guess to why we're here. I just wanted to introduce, to begin with, we already recognize the Bourne family, and we certainly all know Wade Bourne and the legacy that he's given us, and it continues on to this day. And I wanted to introduce Larry Richardson, who wants to bring forward some information about the activities that are going on in the Clarksville area, to especially in that area, to recognize. Larry was working for the agency, the wildlife, at that time, the Game and Fish Commission. Larry was chief of our Information Education Division in 1971 and 2 in that area. Later on, left there to become the chief of our then fledgling non-game program. And after serving that for a while, he went on to work for Ducks Unlimited for a number of years, and eventually retired from Ducks Unlimited, and did some of the things he really likes to do, like painting and so forth. Larry has an exhibit now to Brentwood Library, as a matter of fact, a series of his articles or his paintings, and has done a series on the Cumberland River as well as several others. So with all of those things he's put together, he's certainly vested in the outdoors and knows a lot here. He used to live in Waverly. He and his wife, Roberta, moved to Clarksville, where they met years ago as a part of their Austin P studies, and where Larry was the president of the student government up there, and Roberta was a musician and singer, and kind of, as they say, the rest of history. But I want to give you that brief background about Larry, and he can talk about the others. And we promise not to talk about each other. So, Larry Richardson.
It's an honor to share the stage with Bill Cox and all your compatriots. Pass those down, please. Take one.
We feel the same way.
I know you do. Yeah, I do. By the way, Tony, I didn't get drawn for the elk hunt yesterday either, so I feel for you.
I didn't either, so I'm here now.
Well, bear with me on the technical side of this. We've got a little slideshow to go through this morning, but it's always good to be back home here at TWRA, where my wildlife career began about 45 years ago. And I'm proud to tell you that my first employee, who I hired then, doesn't look much older than he did back in 1973. Ed Carter has amassed an honorable career, mainly through hard work and dedication to the mission of this organization. Thank you, Ed, and thanks to the people that work with you. Have you ever awakened and imagined clouds of ducks over Reelfoot Lake? You're ready to go out there and hunt? Or you've been wading through a stream in the Smokies full of rainbow trout? Or out there hiking on a trail with your kids or your grandkids, a short trail? Well, that's how I felt this morning, with anticipation of coming to talk to a captive audience. Since retirement from Ducks Unlimited, I've taken up painting, and I've written some books. In fact, Tennessee Wilderness, one of the books that you've seen here. But one of the biggest problems I've got is when I start a painting, I want it to be finished right now. And it takes sometimes days or weeks or months to get it finished. Well, that's how I feel about this project that I'm working on right now. It's called the Wade L. Bourne Nature Center. I want it to be finished, but we're going to have to wait for the construction. We're going to open the doors, hopefully in April 2020. Hopefully with the help of agencies like this. We're going to apply for some grants. We're going to ask major donors to step up. We're going to ask individuals to help donate to a foundation that we've started to bolster what the county is doing in Montgomery County. And you know that government can't do it all. You've got to have volunteers like Tennessee Wildlife Federation and others to help you do your job. Well, that's the same thing that the same task that we face in Montgomery County. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. Wade Bourne was a friend of mine, and he was a great friend to all who hunt and fish. I know many of you read his articles in the Ducks Unlimited magazine. You saw him on TV. You heard him on radio. Wade was a native son of Montgomery County, and he graduated from University of Tennessee. Okay, I'm going to get this clicking here in a minute. Middle? There. All right, sorry. The star represents Montgomery County. Well, after Wade left the University of Tennessee, he flew these big birds, refueling jet fighters. And then after he got out of the Air Force, he chased some other big birds, like a lot of us. I spend most of my time chasing them, not taking them like this. Well, last fall, the Southeastern Outdoor Writers met over at Kentucky Lake State Park, and they honored Wade. We had a brief ceremony at Lakeside. We actually sank a Christmas tree that he had brought home in December just before he died. We sank it as a fish attractor, and had a small group of people and had a little ceremony. And believe it or not, right after the ceremony, like on cue, this flock of geese flew right over, saluting what we were doing. I think it was a good omen. Well, even though I'm retired, I still go to a lot of Ducks Unlimited banquets and turkey banquets and elk banquets. I know many of you do too. And we miss Wade at these meetings. He was always there at the national meetings and many of our local dinners. This is Wade and Becky at the 75th anniversary of Ducks Unlimited, which was held in Nashville, Opryland, in 2012. we're just beginning to develop our programs for the Wade L. Bourne Nature Center. The county has given us some land at Rotary Park. We've got architectural drawings, and we're working right now on some exhibits that will be in the Nature Center. This is the way it will look, about 5,000 square feet, and it will also house the Montgomery County Parks and Recreation Board. Let me just show you what it looks like. Whoops, let's back up here. Okay. Rotary Park is in the south part of Clarksville, just on the edge of Highway 41 and Highway 12 bypass. The Nature Center will overlook the Cumberland River Valley. Amazing what they can do with computers. The Nature Center exhibits and meeting rooms will be on the top floor, and on the bottom floor will be the park's offices. Dr. Gaydon's talk this morning, it was a fitting prequel to what I'm showing you now. This deals with children, our children, and the children of the future. These are not the exact exhibits that will be in there, but you've all been to nature centers. You've seen the educational potential, and we're developing many exhibits like this that are interactive. The kids can come in and participate in games, and this gets them away from the television. This gets them away from their computer. The commission, I'm sure, has seen reports on the declining number of outdoorsmen, particularly in the hunting side. If we don't get the kids out in nature, they aren't going to be hunters or fishermen. Let's get them off the asphalt and off the concrete. We're beginning to develop a website. This is a web address that you can go on and put your name and your email on, and we'll keep you up to date on the advances that we're going through in the next 2 years. When we started working on this, we went to the Bourne family and asked their permission to use Wade's name and create a memorial for him. They were overwhelmingly giving us a thumbs up, a positive sign on going ahead and doing this. Becky and Wade had many conversations on something very similar. And she wrote me a letter that I often read in my presentations. I'd like to just go through that quickly. Larry, I have some thoughts to share. On the wake of increased school shootings and gang activity, obsessions with social media, more than ever I see this opportunity as a means to introduce children to different healthy stimuli, enjoying the great outdoors. Wade was a relentless advocate of the mentoring of children and teens. As with many avid outdoorsmen and women, nothing gave him more pleasure than hosting young friends on hunts or gifting them with an overflowing tackle box. As a matter of fact, upon meeting 2 little Italian boys from Manhattan at our niece's wedding, Wade took them to wet a line the next day. 1 lunker and they were hooked. At the news of his death, the little boys insisted on going fishing in the Hudson River to make Mr. Wade proud. This Nature Center plan is a real full circle moment because Wade often dreamed of creating an instructional academy to introduce people to the outdoors. On many long car rides together, we would brainstorm ideas on how to structure this program. I want to make it clear that our family is very humbled by this project being named after Wade. If his life can be remembered not as a tomb, but instead as a living guide to outdoors, it would be worth it. Our hope is to pass forward this Nature Center idea to any community as an educational tool, simply to encourage people to put down telephones and instead breathe fresh air. May God bless your efforts. Gratefully, Becky. Well, I urge all you sitting here today to join hands with us in supporting this educational facility. The programs to be offered at the Nature Center will help introduce the outdoors to thousands of youngsters who may never step off the concrete or asphalt. With numbers of outdoor participants declining, nature centers will play a big part in curbing this decline. Wade stated that his primary goal for the remainder of his life was to turn his attention to this mission of reconnecting children to the outdoors, and he is. In your deliberations of the future of Tennessee's fish and wildlife, please include the Wade L. Bourne Nature Center. Thanks for your friendship, and thanks for supporting his legacy. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Guys, any questions or comments for Larry? Yes, ma'am.
I just have to say I had the pleasure, the honor, privilege of knowing Wade and his family, Becky, good friends. In fact, for several years, I got to be in Wade's Sunday school class. What a great teacher and leader, and so I'm just be honored if we can be a part of this in some way. So, thank y'all for coming.
Thank you so much. Yes, Bill.
Larry, what's your time frame on this? What's your progress?
Well, we started back in January creating plans. The county commission has given approval to move ahead with this. They're going to do the building. Our foundation is going to fund the educational portion of this program. Again, government can't do it all. We're the PTA, so to speak, for this county building. We're going to raise funds to create an endowment. Our goal is to raise $2 million in the beginning. And we want to do this by the spring of 2020. So we've got a little more than a year and a half to get it done. Well, the initial budget, I can't give you the exact figures, a couple of million, I believe, just to put, or $4 million rather, to put the building in the dirt. Yeah. It'll be a beautiful 5,000 square foot building. It'll have adjacent parklands, trails, all sorts of exhibits, indoor and out. This is one of the best ways we can funnel our kids back into nature. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Jeff?
I'd just like to say I did not know Wade personally, but I know him well through his writing, and I will continue to enjoy that. And I so appreciate you sharing that letter with us, because that speaks volumes to his character and his commitment to what we all love. So thank you for that.
I have one more comment.
Yes.
Rotary Park's not far from where we live. I just recently took my grandchildren out there just to hang out, and they looked around, and that's all there is. It was like they were ready. They didn't stay long. I'm thinking that would be really fun to be able to take them and for the children to have a place like that to go. So.
Thank you, Becky. We appreciate it. Mr. Ed?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I think most of you remember that Wade died in December and at that January meeting the next year, we were actually meeting at Bass Pro Shops down in Memphis at the new Pyramid, and the resolution that was passed by the commission at that time has unfortunately been here in the office ever since, and I think it would be appropriate, Mr. Chairman, if we could read that again and formally present that to Becky and Hamilton.
Please do.
Hampton, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Whereas Wade Bourne served his country as a U.S. Air Force pilot before beginning his career in outdoor communications, and whereas Wade Bourne has become one of the most recognized names in the outdoors as a full-time outdoor writer, broadcaster, and whereas Wade Bourne, whose works have appeared regularly before national reading, listening, and viewing audiences over the past 4 decades, and whereas Wade Bourne was the founder and host of the award-winning Wired to Fish Hunt Radio, a syndicated fishing hunting radio show that aired year-round throughout the United States on approximately 280 stations. And whereas Wade Bourne was a veteran contributor to the nation's leading outdoor magazines and served as the editor-at-large for Ducks Unlimited magazine and senior writer for Bassmaster magazine, whereas Wade Bourne received the Southeastern Outdoor Press Association's Lifetime Achievement Award in 2014 and the prestigious Homer Circle Fishing Communicator Award from the Professional Outdoor Media Association and the American Sport Fishing Association in 2016. And whereas Wade Bourne authored 6 books and wrote frequently for the national outdoor publications and had more than 3,000 articles published in outdoor magazines, and whereas Wade Bourne has hosted and co-hosted Ducks Unlimited TV over the past 10 years, and for 7 years prior, hosted the weekly hunting fishing adventure series Advantage Outdoors TV on the Nashville Network. And whereas Wade Bourne was a 2003 inductee into the Legends of the Outdoors Hall of Fame and a 2005 inductee into the National Freshwater Fishing Hall of Fame, and whereas Wade Bourne attended Austin Peay State University in Clarksville, Tennessee, and graduated from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville with a BA degree in English, and he pursued an MA degree in journalism at Murray State University in Kentucky. And whereas Wade Bourne resided with his wife Becky on his family farm in Clarksville, Tennessee, and has 2 grown children, Hampton and Haley, now therefore be it resolved that the members of the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission, meeting on this 13th day of January at the Bass Pro Shops in Memphis, Tennessee, do hereby express their individual and collective gratitude and respect for Wade Bourne, and be it further resolved that this action shall be entered into the permanent records of the Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission, and that this resolution shall serve as evidence that the Commission members, the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency staff, and personnel, Ducks Unlimited, and the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Foundation concur by expressing their sincere appreciation of Wade Bourne, a true Tennessee wildlife conservationist who has influenced the nation by leaving a rich outdoor legacy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
If we could, Becky and Hampton, if we could give this to you formally, that would be a great pleasure for all of us.
On behalf of, obviously, Hampton and Haley and me, we just are very humbled, Mr. Carter and commissioners and all others, for your love and care of our family, but your love and care of the outdoors. As Tony had the prayer this morning, I was reminded of that song that we have sung in all churches throughout the years that says, "All nature sings and round me rings the music of the spheres." And that's what we're here today to do, to encourage and to facilitate for all children that have never even been outside to be educated to the love of the outdoors, the creation that God has given us. And we are just so thankful and humbled that you would have us here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Stroud.
Yeah, we're done.
Thank you. So I think we've asked for a bit of a break, and so how about we take a 15-minute break back at 10:45, and we have some refreshments in the lobby for any of the folks who are here today. So thanks.